Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. Game number 2 between Dimaga and Abver. This is a ZVZ. This time we are on Metalopolis. Looking forward to the continuation of this match. Should be lots of fun. Dimaga saying good luck, have fun, good game. Not bad manners. That is standard fare nowadays in StarCraft 2. So looking forward to this. I do enjoy the Zerg vs. Zerg matchup. Don't ask me why, because it's very interesting. We saw in the last game just Spielings, Banelings just absolutely run rampant in the game, and then an eventual transition to Roaches. Abver did manage to get that level 1 upgrade before Dimaga, and because of that, his Roaches just overpowered the Roaches of Dimaga. Good play by both players, though. Last game was very, very micro-intensive. We can see Dimaga moving out with a very early scout right now, and I do not blame him, considering last game Abver did 8 pull, so Dimaga definitely wants to be aware of that. He wants to know if a really, really early pull is happening or not. Now, taking a look over here in Abver's base, looks like he is not, in fact, coming out with that super early pull. Going to be working on a little more macro-friendly build, a little more econ-friendly, rather. Moving out with the scout right now as well, going to be checking to find out exactly where Dimaga is. We can see players are in cross positions, so that allows them a little more breathing room when it comes to dealing with early aggression. Just a little bit more advanced warning, a little bit more notice. Going to be seeing them spread out their overlords as well. Definitely commonplace in the ZVZ matchup because of the fact that there's not a lot of early anti-air in the matchup. What do you have to worry about queens? Well, the queens aren't going to be straying far from the base until mutas hit the board or possibly hydras. You don't really have to worry about losing those overlords, and just having them centralized on the map, having them along the attack path of your opponent, going to let you see any early pushes coming. So we can say right now, neither player doing much of anything. Looks like Abver is in fact going to be trying to get this expansion, but Dimaga's drone is in the way, so going to be being quite a bit of a nuisance and denying this expansion for at least a little bit longer than he would like. And we can see here Dimaga has been able to get up his expansion of his own. So Abver definitely going to be behind here. Dimaga just continuing up this harassment. Abver would like to pull down an additional drone to try to shoo this away and then be able to drop the expansion, but still hasn't happened. And finally having some breathing room to drop the expansion, but not paying enough attention. And it looks like Abver did just instead drop that pool. He realized he was so far behind there in the expansion. He definitely wants to get that pool up a little bit earlier, so eking it out a little bit faster than Dimaga. Dimaga finally coming out with his pool over here, but either way, Abver is going to be behind as far as time is concerned in that expansion. I'm going to be interested to see if he decides to try to push out very early, given the fact that he does have this pool up a little bit earlier than Dimaga. I would be interested to see if he tries to do something like that. We did actually see Dimaga trying to drop an evolution chamber right here to try to disrupt the mining of that Vespian gas. Very interesting attempt there at the very least. Pulling lots of drones off the line. Holy hell. Abver stopping mining there to try to get rid of this drone, and the drone still making it through and pulling guys off the line. Abver taking these unnecessary losses there from the harassment of this drone. This one drone has caused so much damage this game. Abver definitely thrown off his game at this point. We can see right now the expansion for Dimaga is up, coming out with that second queen. We got 2 queens working right now for Dimaga. Dimaga also coming out with the metabolic boost. Now over here for Abver, working on metabolic boost himself. He does have this 1 queen in the works, and again, we can see that delayed expansion definitely causing a bit of trouble, coming out with those 6 Zerglings. So it looks like Abver may in fact looking to be pushing out early. Like I mentioned, he did have that pull up earlier than Dimaga, so going to be moving out with some Zerglings. No, in fact, keeping the Zerglings inside of his base, deciding by the time he gets there, pool is going to be up anyways. Kind of not really worth trying to be aggressive early on, so going to be just keeping those Zerglings inside of his base. And again, that double queen really early on for Dimaga, definitely putting him in a nice, strong position. Going to be injecting a larva on both of these, I would imagine. Yes, he is, in fact, doing that. Is he pulling guys off the gas? No, staying on the gas for now. Is probably concerned about needing to get Banelings at some point in the near future. Wouldn't be too surprised if that does come into play. Baneling Nest working on the way right now as well. There it is for Dimaga. So Dimaga going to be getting that Baneling Nest. And again, as a result, keeping guys on the gas. We can see Abver, in fact, pulling guys off the gas, concentrating more on those minerals, letting him work on his economy a little bit more. Also going to be letting him get a lot more Zerglings out than his opponent. He's going to be able to afford a ton of Zerglings, and wouldn't be entirely surprised if we just saw a very, very, very early heavy Zergling push. And now the general mentality behind this, as opposed to going for Banelings, is that you're going to outnumber the amount of Zerglings of your opponent because they have in fact invested resources in Banelings, right? Very logical, very common thought. Well, if you can micro properly and if you can stay away from the Banelings, you are going to be clearly in a better spot. Now, an issue arises is if you don't pay enough attention and you can't micro properly and you get hit by those Banelings, then obviously you lose a ton of Zerglings. So here comes the push. Dimaga fully aware of it, and in fact, no, it looks like Abver is pulling back to his main base, deciding not to push at this point. Look at all those Banelings right there for Dimaga. So Dimaga is going to be prepared for these Zerglings. Again, it's going to really come all down to micro. And what do we got going on over here? Do we have any additional buildings? 2 spine crawlers on the way. Still no additional buildings. We also have a roach Witchwarren coming out over here for Dimaga. So Dimaga working on the tech, and Abver just working on these mass numbers, pulling forward with those Zerglings. Does he outnumber the Zerglings? Watch out for those Banelings right now. Oh, very close. Abver almost losing his whole nut right there to those Banelings, and that's exactly what I mentioned. You can outnumber the amount of Zerglings from your opponent if you go for this really, really Zergling heavy build, but you just have to be very careful to stay away from those Banelings, do what you can to avoid. And Abver going to be pushing out, threatening to attack the main base here of Dimaga. Dimaga instead going to be counterattack as well, going to be moving forward, trying to get surrounded on those Queens. Queen's going to be denying those Banelings from moving into the main base. Spinecrawler is doing tremendous amounts of damage, losing a few drones there, but more Spinecrawlers going down, and it looks like Abver managing to defend this, pushing into the base right now. Again, needs to stay away from those Banelings. If he can micro properly, he's in a good spot. One Baneling right there, popping a whole bunch of Zerglings. Big problem, not able to micro away properly over here. Zerglings working the hell out of this expansion. Those Queens are in fact dead. Zergling trying to do some damage, but it looked like they popped on another Baneling as well. So Dimaga managing to successfully defend against that. Abver definitely looking to be in a weak spot right now. Taking a look at that unit counting station, we can see Abver does have actually less Zerglings and less drones. So Abver definitely in a tough spot right now. Taking a look at that income tab. Now again, like I mentioned, the idea with this build is that you just need to avoid the Banelings. If you can do that successfully, then you're in a good spot. But if you miss micro even the slightest, you're going to lose just too many units and it'd be in a whole heap of a lot of trouble. So again, those vast numbers as opposed to trying to avoid those Banelings. That's the theory there. Zerglings in the back base here of Abver. Abver still not teching up to anything, just working on this point on continuing to work up on his econ and just sticking with those Zerglings. So definitely a big tech advantage right now for Dimaga, but numbers wise he should technically be behind. Isn't really the case at this point because of the economic damage that he did manage to do to Abver. So Abver definitely looking really behind at this point in the game. Gonna be very difficult for him to claw his way back up. He needs to get really lucky and needs to have some sort of advantage. Do we have him coming out with a layer? No, in fact we do not. So it's actually Dimaga coming out with a layer right now. So again, Dimaga in a commanding position right now. This is going to be very difficult for Abver to come back from. Abver moving forward with some Zerglings, just getting some scouting, spotting those roaches there. So right now he knows roaches are on the board. And again, he's still just sticking to the Zergling build. So very, very tough. Now, his only real big hope right now is that if he manages to catch Dimaga away from his base with these units, if Dimaga tries to push out, if he can catch him away from his base, he can try to move in with the large number of Zerglings he has and try to hit him very hard and do a lot of economic damage. But that's pretty much his only real chance right now. He's just so far behind in every aspect. Looks like Abver going to be trying to come out with an expansion right now. A few more Zerglings streaming out. Going to be doing some scouting. That's obviously not the bulk of his force at this point. So going to be moving down, trying to just test the water, check exactly what Dimaga has. He's going to see very, very roach heavy right now. Trying to scout in. It looks like a ton of more roaches coming out for Dimaga. So Dimaga going to be moving out with a heavy roach push. Like I said, these Zerglings are not going to be able to really deal with this amount of roaches. He's going to have to rely on a counterattack and trying to do lots of damage and maybe trying to force Dimaga to pull back to his base. It's all really going to depend on how Dimaga responds and when and if he pulls back. Also going to be seeing that upgrade coming out right now, the speed upgrade coming out for those roaches. Going to obviously make them much more effective, allow them to catch up to those Zerglings a little bit easier. Obviously still much slower than the Speedlings, but making that a little bit less difficult there for him. Abver just continuing to mass up these Zerglings. We can see right here, where are they? There we go, 63 Zerglings as opposed to the 7 Zerglings and 23 roaches and 4 Banelings. So Abver feeling really confident with just this Zergling build. You can see not even mining gas at this point, just going strictly minerals. Does have this expansion just about to pop. So if Dimaga does manage to push out, he could do quite a bit of damage. He also needs to be careful about getting a full surround there. But this is the dynamic that we're seeing here in the ZVZ matchup. We're seeing just mass Zergling versus pretty much a roach heavy build. So going to be very interested to see how it plays out. Again, the speed and mobility is the advantage here for Abver. He's got a lot of speed, a lot of mobility. He can move in quickly, strike, move back out. That is the advantage here, but this roach line is going to be nearly impossible to break. Needs to stay away from those Banelings as well. Lots of Banelings. Oh my gosh, what is he doing? Suiciding his Zerglings into those roaches. He just lost the game right there. Lost so many Zerglings to those roaches. That is very, very unfortunate. Look at that unit loss tab there. He completely threw those away. There were way too many roaches to try to engage. I am not sure what Abver was thinking, but that was not the spot he wanted to engage. And Dimaga, realizing the strong position he's in right now, is going to be pushing out with these roaches, and he is just going to mop over right now what Abver has. Abver trying to come out with these spine crawlers. It's not going to be enough. Far too many roaches on the board. That is very unfortunate to see that. Again, Abver just completely threw away all of those Zerglings there. I'm not sure. Maybe he wasn't paying quite enough attention. He must have been looking somewhere else on the map. We can see he does have this expansion saturated. It doesn't really matter, though. So many roaches, and there is the GG. So really unbelievable. We saw Dimaga was able to do some economic damage with those Speedlings and Banelings early game, managed to stop mining at this expansion, and again, Abver just stuck to that Zergling heavy build. It can be effective. You must realize it's not that it's the worst idea in the world. You just have to be really focused and paying attention to your Zerglings and not let them pop on the Banelings. And then even more so, this push right over here, that just killed me. He threw away all of his Zerglings. He was vastly outnumbered as far as number of roaches are concerned and just their durability, and he engaged them, and I don't understand why. He also took a big pop there to those Banelings, so just a little bit of a blunder there from Abver caused him to lose the game. Didn't use those Zerglings the way he's really supposed to, and just being mobile and trying to harass, and definitely don't want to engage a big pile of roaches with those Zerglings. Not the best situation. So good game again between these two players. Going to be moving on right now to game number 3, and I'll see you guys in a minute.